Hey, how are you doing?
Hello, Bob. Welcome to Andy's Cavern. Uh, and tonight we have got a special guest on. We're doing a collaboration with Bob from Canada's Boxing Channel. So a warm welcome to you all out there, all viewers. And how we doing, Bob? Are we well?
We're doing good. I see you've got some liquor in the optics behind you. I'll take a wee dram.
You want a wee dram? I've got one poured for you. I'm a vodka fan, so I've got two French vodkas. I've got Ciroc, which is made of grapes, I believe, and then I've got Grey Goose, which is a nice tipple. I think it's made from French grain. So I always like. I don't drink a lot. I think Russ thinks I drink. Thinks I'm always on the
Well,
drink, but I just like to enjoy a nice vodka. If you're having a drink, have a nice drink. There's no point in
for
having
many for many years, I was a semi-professional drinker, and I
ah.
always kept a bottle of vodka in the freezer. Uh, so
Just like
now I'm pretty much a teetotaler. As I got older, the hangovers used to really bother me. So I very rarely do I drink now. But when I was a drinker, I was a vodka man myself.
good man, good taste. Yeah, I mean, I know myself, as you get older, time becomes more valuable, and the last thing you want to do is waste time suffering a hangover, especially if you've got kids and family and that. It's no fair on them. It's not fair. It's not fair on anybody, is it?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
So
So
this is fun. I'm pleased to be your guest. When we were talking, I thought that this would be a really good idea. I think we have a similar subscription base. We're both
yeah,
obviously small channels. Um, and one of the things that struck me is that even though you and I have never met, it's a testament to boxing that two boxing fans can connect and talk about boxing, even though we're an ocean and a continent apart from each other. And I thought that maybe both of our subscription folks would get something out of this, and it would be like listening to a couple of guys talking in the pub.
yeah. Well, this is like a small pub, I suppose. But yeah, thanks for it. Hopefully, it helps everybody, doesn't it? And thanks very much for suggesting it. It is something I've been wanting to do. Is like interviews. I've messaged, Frank Goldfeather. He's a boxing coach. I think he's 79 year old. And he's a real inspiration to many people. I think he's actually been out in Saudi at this show that was on last night, and
Oh,
I've spoke to him on Messenger and that, and he said he'd be happy to do an interview with me. So
oh,
we
that'd be
also
good.
so that'd be good. We also have it's just finding the time, mate. But I've also have a local boxer called Luke Bibby, and he's trained by Billy Nelson. So I want to try and
Oh,
make contact with him at some point and maybe have a wee interview with him, or maybe even go to Billy Nelson's gym at some point if I was able to do that. That'd be a wee boost, wouldn't it? So
yeah. If you could speak to Billy Nelson, that would be excellent. Yeah, that would be good. I think I would certainly tune in, and I'm sure a lot of other people would as well.
yeah, I like Billy Nelson. He's a straight talker, and I think he's a passionate guy. I know things didn't work out for them last night, but you take a lice for taking gambles, isn't it? So it just didn't pay off,
Well, yes.
unfortunately.
And it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback and to say he should never ever have taken the fight. And I
Yeah,
did a video about it this morning. I mean, as Billy Nelson said, it was life changing money. And when Eddie Hearn says, "Oh, you shouldn't have taken it," it's easy for Eddie Hearn to say that because Eddie Hearn is worth, tens of millions of dollars.
yeah,
And it's very easy for a super rich person to say that the decisions made by a non rich person are wrong. I
yeah,
mean, if you've got $100 million in the bank, you can laugh at me for doing something to make $1,000.
yeah,
But $1,000 might be very important to me, right?
yeah,
So yeah, it was a roll of the dice. And I don't think, or at least I hope, that the boxing establishment isn't too critical of Martin Bakole. I hope they remember he literally got off the couch to go and do this.
Yeah, I believe he hadn't
So
sparred since August, so and
that's right. He
yeah,
hadn't sparred since August. Now he's lost his IBF final eliminator spot. He's still going to fight Efeke Jagbar. Sorry, I mispronounce his name every time. He's still going to fight a Jagbar, but he's not. It's not going to be for an IBF eliminator. But hopefully,
yeah.
he can come back and he can show us what he can do when he's fully fit.
If you look back, you'll know yourself. I mean, Lennox Lewis and Joe Frazier, two great fighters, both lost in the second round in their careers, and they managed to come back and do good things. So we'll wait and see.
Absolutely. I don't view a loss in the same way that a lot of modern fans view a loss.
Yeah.
It's how you lose and how you come back from a loss that's important to me, not the zero. If I see somebody with a zero, I think maybe they're just being too well managed.
Yeah. And I think Billy Nelson showed compassion by throwing the towel, and he could have let him go on, and he might have been okay, but then he might not have been. We can only can't run the world enough, so to speak. But he probably did the right thing.
I think you're right. I don't see the point in an unfit fighter taking unnecessary punishment, because that could have had a life-changing effect, and it wouldn't have been for the good. So I think Billy Nelson did the right thing.
Yeah. He could have ruined them, letting them go on. Or some people are too brave and let their fighters go on far too long. It's in the benefit of nobody, is it? That's it.
We've seen too many cases where fighters are not going to ever quit.
Yeah.
Whether it's Frazier, whether it's Ali, or whether it's significantly, lesser fighters. A lot of fighters won't quit. They'll rather die than quit. So the trainer has a responsibility.
Deontay Wilder's a bit like that, in actual fact. In the Fury fights, he took an awful pounding, didn't he? And I think he sacked his trainer, Mark Breland, didn't he, in the second fight for stopping it. So
yeah. Well, the adrenaline's going, the dander is up, and they need a trainer who can act for them, because they're going to be tunnel vision at the time, right?
Yeah.
And nobody wants to see anybody on a slab.
No, or permanently damaged for the future. Especially if they've got family and kids and whatnot.
Oh, absolutely.
What's the point of having £100 million in the bank when you're like a vegetable or whatever? It's in no position to enjoy it. So it's just madness. So do we want to start? Do we want to start at the beginning with last night's fight card?
Sure, wherever you like, my friend, wherever you like.
Smith Buatsi. I picked Buatsi to win on points, just merely because I thought Smith had been too inactive in recent times. What did you think?
Yeah, I had also picked Buatsi, and in fact, I doubled down on it yesterday morning before the fight started. I was a guest on Porky's Corner, and I doubled down and agreed that that Callum Smith, I said most of his best work had been done at super middle, that he really probably wasn't suitable for light heavy, and his tools weren't sharp. So I was wrong in capital letters, wrong.
As was I. But I did enjoy the fight. It was a really good fight.
It was a great fight.
A lot of
yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought, what a great way to start the card. It's at a level, of course, below Beterbiev and Bivol, but a great light heavyweight fight. I thought that Buatsi could have done with a bit more upper body and head movement. I don't know if he was nervous or whatever. I had it really, really close. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On my little scorecard here, I was kind of scoring it a draw, but with an edge to. If I had to make an edge, I guess I would have edged it to Smith.
Yeah.
So I think the right man won. There was my notes here from yesterday. I wrote no loser in fight, great sportsmanship, and I also wrote that Russ Anber, who was in Smith's corner, again did a really good job of
Mm.
managing that cut.
Yeah,
So,
he's a good guy, Ross Amber, isn't he? And he
oh,
comes
he's an
across as a
excellent.
nice, personable guy as well, isn't
Yeah, I've seen some interviews of him. He's a really straight talking, intelligent sounding, good guy, and he clearly knows how to handle cuts.
he? Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, he's the man you want in the corner. But I thought
yeah,
it was a really, really good fight. A great fight to start off. I missed the fight that was before the local lad and somebody else. I missed that.
yeah. I saw it start. One of my pals actually turned up. He just painted my wheel trims for my old Mercedes for me, and he turned up to deliver them. So I was too busy
Right on.
speaking to him, and then I watched the Smith Buatsi fight with him, and then he went away, and then I was because I had guests coming round last night. I was making a big pot of macaroni cheese for them coming round, so that was kind of back and forth. I didn't manage to
Well,
get settled down to watch everything that I wanted to watch initially, but it was good though. It was good.
well, I was pretty lucky. My wife was working, and of course, it started. It was all done by 4 o'clock in the afternoon with me. I'm 8 hours behind you. And so essentially, I was on the couch all day. I had the dogs around me. And then when it finished, I still had time to rush outside and do the horse chores and, get the feeding done and everything like that. So, yeah, my wife knew that I was basically lounging on the couch all day.
She's good with that.
Yeah, well,
As long as you've not got a pile of iron that you should have done or something.
yeah, that's the thing. As I think everybody knows well, at least on my channel, I'm a retired guy. In other words, I'm a house husband now, so
Yeah,
I get all the little chores to do, and but hey, that's good.
life's good.
That's
Yeah, that's it.
all good.
So then I had Caballel Zhang. I think I missed the first 3 rounds of that because I was doing the cheese sauce for the macaroni, but I caught the last three. I think was it the 6th round they stopped him in.
Yeah, I had picked Caballel to win. I had thought that Caballel would keep out of Zhang's way for the first half of the fight,
Yeah,
and then he would get a points win. I did say on my channel that I thought there was the possibility of a late stoppage, but
yeah,
what I was imagining was an absolutely gassed out Zhang in about round 9 or 10 that was just unable to really continue.
yeah.
So this,
I kind of went with that myself. That was kind of my thoughts how it would go as well.
yeah. So I was very impressed. I thought Zhang looked lean, even though he was massively heavy.
Mm,
I can't believe that weight is good for him. Just moving that much lumber around.
yeah,
If he'd come in at 270 something, low 270s, that would have been better. But what do I know? I'm not his coach or anything. But Caballel, I like the fact that Caballel always comes in around the same weight, 238, 239. I think it was 241 yesterday.
yeah,
Um, I think Caballel showed that he can switch tactics as well. He went from moving around in the first round to basically kind of closing in with Zhang from 2-3 until the end, and I thought he kind of chopped him down
like a big oak
and
tree.
really, yeah, he dealt with a big guy the way that a big guy should be dealt with. Um, Zhang did catch him, of course. He caught him in the fifth round, and Caballel didn't seem overly bothered. He was dropped, of course, as you know.
Yeah,
Um, I thought he got up and recovered every bit as well as Parker did when Parker was caught by Zhang, possibly better.
yeah.
And
He
then
didn't disturb him.
he closed the deal in the sixth round.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know about you. I thought that Zhang could have got up,
yeah.
um, but he kind of allowed the count to roll out,
I
which
think. I think he was sickened with the body punches, wasn't he? I think that really took the wind right out of him. Some of the body shots that Caballero was sinking into him, and he just
Yeah,
looked a bit disinterested after that, didn't
you know, a body shot can actually have that really debilitating effect. Part of me thought he could have gotten up on about 7 or 8,
he?
but I don't think he would have made any difference. I think Caballel, who would have had another, what, 30 seconds in that round,
Yeah,
might have just put him down again. I don't think that this was ever going to end well.
no, he was
So
well
he
on
probably,
top, Caballero. Yeah,
oh
that's
yeah, and if Zhang wasn't going to win in the first 6 rounds, he sure as hell, in my view, wasn't going to win in the last 6. So great
no.
finish.
Oh yeah,
I really, I really, really hope Caballel gets a title shot. I don't want to see Caballel necessarily being spent on a lot of other contenders. I think he's done enough now to warrant a
yeah,
shot either at Dubois or against Usyk. Probably Dubois.
yeah,
That'd be my preference. What do you think?
yeah. I think it's time he got a shot at a title of some description because he's proved his worth, hasn't he? I know Zhang's a bit older than that. I mean, but he's been a kind of late bloomer, isn't he, Zhang? But I think he's maybe done now though. I think after that performance, I think Caballero just really took it out of him, sickened him. But Caballero, yeah, for sure, you wouldn't write him off against anybody, really, would you? But apart from Usyk, I think Usyk would. I think Usyk's just a level above everybody. But certainly, you've got to give him a shout against Parker or Dubois, sorry, or Parker.
Yeah, I think I I think I might actually favor Caballel um, over both of Parker and Dubois. I know that, well, I don't know. I guess he would be an underdog, but I might actually favor him. He's shown a lot to me. Now, I know that some people will say, well, he beats the big Russian Canadian guy, um, and he beat an injured Frank Sanchez, and he beat an old Zhang.
Yeah,
But you can only fight people who are put in front of you, and he's done a magnificent job with all of them.
yeah,
And he also seems like a really nice guy. Like, he's humble. He's not a trash talker.
yeah,
Um, I like everything I see about him.
yeah. He comes across as respectful, doesn't he? And I like that. And
Yeah,
a bit like
yeah.
Parker's very respectful, isn't he? And Usyk's very
I,
respectful.
I like that about Parker, and of course I like that about Usyk. Again, we're seeing things the same way here. I am not a big fan of trash talkers. Sometimes, sure, it can be funny, but I prefer to see my fighters do their fighting in the ring than with their mouths in the press conference, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, trash talking can be funny if it's coming from somebody with a lot of charisma, like say Muhammad Ali or that. But when you get people trying to do a poor imitation, it's
Yeah.
not quite the
And
same. And when start using foul language, it puts me right off it because not because I'm a prude or anything, but because I think there should be kids looking up to these people and wanting and get into boxing or get into watching boxing. And when they see somebody
yeah.
effing and seeing it, it's just horrible. It's just there's no need for it.
Oh, exactly. I mean, someone like Usyk, you could take a crowd of junior boxers and say, you know what, if you guys want a role model, that's the man you want to model yourself on. I
Yeah.
don't want to see somebody like you say effing and seeing and just it's just not necessary.
Hmm.
And the other thing is, if you're going to trash talk, you better be able to back it up.
Yeah.
you know,
They're going to
because
make
otherwise,
themselves looks really silly.
yeah, there's an expression. Don't write the check with your ass. Don't write checks with your mouth. You can't cash with your ass, right?
That's a good saying. So, what was the next fight after that? Ortiz Jr. versus Madrimov. I picked Madrimov to win on points, but I thought it would be close. But I thought Madrimov gave a really good account of himself against Crawford. So I expected big things of him, but wasn't quite to be. Ortiz was a more than a match for him, I think, wasn't he? What do you
Yeah,
think?
I picked Ortiz, but I want to say that was more by luck than judgment, to be perfectly honest. I picked Ortiz because I thought he would bring that extra aggression, and like I say, a blind squirrel gets a nut. I sort of picked the right guy. But again, mostly it was a real close fight. It was hard to pick, and I thought Madrimov did a good job. He, I read somewhere online that people thought that he didn't do a good job, but that wasn't the fight that I was seeing. I thought it was, I was happy with the fight. I thought that the right man, the right man won, and for the right reasons. And I enjoyed the fight. I thought it was a good fight with both fighters. Both fighters came to fight. I know, but I see in some people online saying that Madrimov, didn't seem to be trying, and I don't know. I didn't see that. But again,
it's easy for somebody to say that if they're not in there.
yeah. But and the other thing is, like, I never want to hold myself out as a boxing expert. I'm just a fan of boxing, and been a fan of boxing since my earliest memories. So, like, over 60 something years. But I'm not I'm not an expert like Terry is or Russ is. So to my eye, it was a good fight. I enjoyed it. I thought it was, and I thought that they both came to fight and they put up a good fight.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, I always tell people that when I'm doing videos, I'm not an expert. I'm just a fan. I've probably watched boxing for about, I think I was about 15 or 16, probably 37 years. I've probably watched boxing. But it's just my opinion. I always tell people I'm always happy to agree to disagree. If everybody's entitled to their opinion, it's not for me to tell people what to think.
I think one of the things that on your channel and mine is that so long as people are reasonably polite, there's tons of room for disagreement. If somebody thinks I'm out to lunch, well, let me know. I mean, if you're going to be rude, well, then your argument loses some weight. But if you're polite and you think I'm out to lunch, build a case and tell me, because if I knew all these things, I'd be rich because I'd be picking winners all the time, right?
A crystal ball. I mean, you can always disagree with people in a positive manner. It doesn't have to be in a negative way. I always try to be positive with everything in life. I probably get that from my dad. He's probably the most positive person I know. He's always cheery regardless of what he's got going on, So it
I mean, two guys can look at the exact same information and draw different conclusions. And that doesn't mean that one is an idiot and one is smart. It just means that the way our brains work, we draw a different conclusion from the information that we process, right?
That's correct.
Like, we could argue all day long about whether Muhammad Ali was better than Joe Louis. I mean, you can come to an absolutely reasoned argument for either fighter. I mean, so
I like your picture there. It's one of my favorite old heavyweights was Jersey Joe Walcott.
Jersey Joe.
He was completely outboxing Marciano for 12 rounds, wasn't he? Until
that's right.
13th.
Rocky introduced him to Susie Q.
Yeah, that was a lot.
That was all she wrote. It's an argument. It's an argument I use with younger fans about making a case for 15-round world title fights.
Yeah.
Because if that fight, Jersey Joe Walcott and Rocky Marciano, if that had been a 12-round fight, Jersey Joe Walcott is champion. There is no Rocky Marciano.
That's it. The legend would have never been as strong as it is.
Yeah. So, and it's not the only example, but anyways, nobody cares what I think about this. I mean,
I'm sure the people watching do, and I do, Bob. So, who was on to next? Was it Adames versus Shiraz? and that was a bit of a damp squid for me. It was Shiraz was. They say he had a broken hand afterwards, but he was all built up, wasn't he? And he just was a bit too tentative for my liking. What do you think yourself?
Well, I mean, I've said before on my channel that there's been too much hype around Shiraz, and I've taken some stick for saying that. But what I really mean is that all this hype and expectation and Riyadh season ambassador stuff, I think that added a lot of pressure on Shiraz's shoulders. And
Yeah,
it seemed to me that Shiraz came into this fight determined that he didn't want to lose and he didn't want to embarrass himself and he wanted to go the distance. And again, that's not the way that you rip the championship belt from around a champion's waist. Shiraz, to my eye, did not come with the mindset of, I'm going to take this belt. He came to do a good show. And now I understand about the hand, but having said that, the great Harry Greb once fought with a broken arm.
yeah, and
So,
one.
yeah, yeah. So I'd scored it 7 rounds to 5 in favor of Adames.
Yeah,
Um, I will always, do what's called Brooklyn scoring. I'll always favor the aggressor.
yeah,
That's just because that's my eye. But I couldn't make any sense of the scorecards. 115, 114 for Hamza, 118 to 110 for Adames, and then the other guy with splinters in his ass, 114, 114. That made no sense to me. Like,
you've got a 9 round swing there, haven't you, between two judges watching the same fight? So
yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like I say, I had it 7-5 for Adames. Um, and I could have actually made it 8-4 for Adames, to be honest. But I thought, to be entirely fair, and I'm not wrapped in the flag of patriotism here. I'm not cheering on people because of where they're from. I mean, like I didn't care. Um,
yeah, I'm the
yeah,
same.
I don't know.
I don't never really go with that. Where people are from, as long as it's a good fair fight with a good fair result and no controversy. That's what I'm really looking for.
Yeah,
And
I mean, people are talking about Hamza Shiraz as like the next coming of Tommy Hearns, and I mean that's just frankly preposterous. Like it's just not believable.
I think the people saying that have never seen Tommy Hearns fight, have they?
Yeah, I would imagine so, right?
They've heard the
I
name and
mean,
thought he's a tall, thin guy. It must be like him.
what's a little bit sad for me is that the middleweight division, the people who've held the middleweight championship from Sonny Sugar Ray Robinson, Jake LaMotta, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Hearns. It's just the division is weak now,
Mm.
and this fight did not even strike me as a world middleweight championship fight. And I mean, I'm pleased that Adames gets to keep his belt,
Yeah,
um, but there was no way I could see that as being what the judges saw it as. I've said online, and people have been critical of me because I've said it, that this was a home fighter decision.
yeah. He is an ambassador for the Riyadh season, isn't he, for Turkey Al Sheikh? So
He's
if
one of
there's going to be
Turkey's.
if there's going to be favouritism, it's kind of sitting in open view, isn't it? It's hiding in
Yeah,
plain sight, so to speak.
he's
Yeah,
Turkey's guy. Um, he's a Riyadh season ambassador. There's all sorts of things in his favor. He was expected to win.
hmm
Um, and I think Adames, quite frankly, in order to get in order to win, Adames had to knock Hamza out, which yeah, it left a bad taste in my mouth, to be honest with
yeah,
you. I thought it was a ridiculous score. And it was yeah, it was a disappointment. I think that's
yeah,
about all I would really want to say.
yeah. Probably the most disappointing fight of the night, I would say. Yeah. You've got to say that, I would
Yeah,
think.
by far, really.
Mm,
Um, yeah, and I think that Hamza Shiraz will need some rebuilding, and I'd like to see the hype dialed down. Because all this hype doesn't help him. I'm not blaming Hamza. I'm not saying that he's been asking for all this, but he's been like the
no,
golden boy of the boxing there, and I just don't think it's helped him.
no.
He can come again. He's a young guy. Of course, he can come again.
I don't
But
think you ever do anybody any favors in life, spoiling them like children and that, because it's everything's too easy for them. Then they've got to have a bit of adversity in life to
yeah,
build resilience and character, don't they?
yeah, absolutely. I won't say he's been exposed, but he's had a little dose of reality shot on him.
Yeah, which probably
So
won't do him any harm going forward, but we'll see what
yeah,
happens next.
he
Once
might
his
be the better
hand,
fighter for this. Yeah,
yeah,
he might be
maybe the
better for
make,
this.
maybe the making of him. Then we had Shakur Stevenson and Josh Padley. I thought that was quite an entertaining fight. I mean, Josh Padley came in. It was at 4 days' notice, and he was in the middle of fitting solar panels to roofs. I think he's an electrician to trade. Left
Yeah,
his electrician's van at the airport.
yeah. Um, you know, I can't say too many good things about Padley. He he epitomized, that sort of plucky underdog. He came to fight. Um, he is thought to be leagues below Shakur Stevenson in talent, and I think that's fair to say.
Yeah,
But he
yeah,
came to fight. He put up a really good job for as long as it was. I mean, Shakur Stevenson should have, truly speaking, wiped the floor with him in about 3 rounds.
yeah.
So Padley, as far as I'm concerned, absolutely exceeded expectations, did a great job. And you know what I hope? I hope that he gets a contract so with Matchroom or Queensberry or somebody, so he doesn't have to go back up on the roof and finish that solar panel installation job. I
Yeah.
hope he can now be a professional boxer with enough money behind him so that he can see where he goes. Is he going to be world class? I doubt it, but he's a really solid domestic level fighter who deserves a break. And he did a great job. He went in with the number two in the world in that weight class.
He was
And
almost like a he's almost like a throwback fighter, when he got dropped with the body shot, he was so annoyed with himself. I've got to get up. When
yeah,
he got
I saw that.
hurrying back.
He,
Oh, fantastic.
yeah, he kind of punched the canvas. He was so pissed off with himself. And yeah, I just really liked him. I thought, what a great example of guts and spirit and just a good kid,
I mean,
very impressed.
he might never win a world title fight, but he might be involved in some memorable tussles going forward, just because he's an entertaining fighter to watch.
Yeah, entertaining fighter who, he's a value for money fighter.
Yeah, definitely.
He does what it says on the tin.
Yeah, and then what went next was Parker Bacoli, which left me a bit. Um, how would I say? Um, I felt a bit probably saddened. I had it in my head, fooling myself that Bacoli could fly in at 48 hours notice, and it would have been a Cinderella story if he'd managed to beat Parker. And for me, it would have shut Bricktop up, because I don't think Bricktop wanted Bacoli near any of his fighters. That was pretty clear to me, but unfortunately, it wasn't to be. But Parker was obviously too sharp and too well conditioned for him on the night.
Yeah, I mean, Bacoli, it would have been a miracle, right?
Yeah,
Bacoli was he 310 pounds or something? Um, if I can just go off on a bit of a tangent, I just don't understand why heavyweight boxers feel they need to be so darn heavy. I
no,
mean, surely Ajit Kabayel has shown us that 240 is more than enough to drop somebody, and Alexander Usyk has shown us that
yeah,
that 220 something is more than enough. George Foreman at his peak was 225, right?
Yeah.
Liston was 218. So fighters now who are coming in at like even a conditioned Parker came in at 267, which is I don't know, I can't
Yeah.
remember what that is in stones. But it's like
19,
19 stone, isn't it?
So body
That's
wise, he looked quite in good shape body wise. I was quite struggling to
well, he
believe he
looked
was that weight, but that's
looked like a
heavy.
power lifter. He looked like a
Aye,
power lifter, yeah.
yeah. That might
But
have
but
hampered
yeah,
him
but
if the fight had gone on longer, I suppose, if you're carrying too much muscle.
I'm wondering how it would have worked against Dubois
Yeah,
because I had picked Parker to prevail over Dubois with my fingers crossed kind of thing, not a strong pick. But if it had gone into sort of 8 or 9 rounds, would that extra meat have helped Parker or hindered him?
might
I
have gone
guess we
against
won't
him.
know, but I think it might have worked against him.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I thought he could maybe beat Dubois on points just for experience and ring craft, but we'll
yeah,
maybe never
that's
find
what I
out.
thought. But yeah, poor Bacoli. It was the right decision to throw the towel in. I really hope, like we said at the outset of this show, that Bacoli is allowed to come again and that people remember that he quite literally kind of got off the couch.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but
They never write that in the record book, so do that. That's the only thing, isn't it?
no, well that's it, right? Um, but the bigger question about why would he allow himself to get so heavy, in the sort of off season
Hmm.
is interesting. Like that's a massive amount of weight to be carrying around. And I mean, if he's
It's a bit short sighted for him, I think, letting himself balloon up as much. So I think one of his last fights, he was around about 280 pounds, wasn't he, when he beat Jared Anderson? Uh,
yeah,
but then he'd
so
been
with a fight
sparring
coming up,
sharp.
it's got a yeah, got a fight coming up in May.
May.
So he would have to lose 30 pounds by May. You know, it would you would think it would be better for him to have a fighting weight of sort of like in the 260s or 270s, and then maybe off season balloon up to 280. But
Yeah,
310.
I know it's
Apparently,
big,
he's a
isn't it?
vegetarian. You know
Is
that?
he? I thought I heard
Appa-
Porky saying he eats crocodile meat or something, but I don't know.
I
Don't know
think
if that's
I think I think Porky was pulling the leg of his guest there. But no, I
uh,
think I read somewhere that
I think I've
he's
heard
a
that. Yeah, yeah.
he's a
I've
vegetarian.
I've heard that
So,
somewhere.
but
And then we had the
yeah.
top of the
Anyhow,
bill. Top of the bill after that. I think we've only got 2 minutes left. Yeah,
oh
just under 2 minutes. So time's flying
oh
by.
yeah. Top of the
Bivol,
bill was an exceptional fight.
oh, fantastic, wasn't it? It's fantastic. A better fight than the first fight, I thought.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I was cheering on Beterbiev. I wanted Beterbiev to win, but Bivol deservedly got the decision. I wouldn't have argued either which way. It was bloody close, and it was
Oh,
just a great fight, and the time just flew by. Yeah, excellent fight.
I think I scored at a draw actually when I was watching it. It's difficult to score. I prefer to score something with the volume off, sitting on my own. But when you've got people in and there's commentary, and you can be unconsciously swayed, I think. But I think the right man won the fight, though. There's no doubt about that.
I think the right man won the fight. It sets up a trilogy, and hopefully, if there's going to be a trilogy, they don't wait for Beterbiev to age out because, of course, he's 40
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
he's not going to get any younger, right?
he's not going to get any better, is he? That's it. So we're out of
But
time, I'm afraid, Bob. Says less than a minute, so we
all
better.
right. Well, thank you for
Thanks for coming on, and thoroughly enjoyed that. We'll need to do it again sometime soon.
absolutely. I'll put a link to this one in my channel, and hopefully, everybody watching has had fun and enjoyed it. And thanks very much for setting it all up. And I'm pleased the
Very
technology
well.
worked.
And don't forget, everybody, like and subscribe to Bob's Canada Boxing channel and Andy's Cavern Boxing. And
Andy's Cavern Boxing, yes.
until the next time, we'll love yous and leave yous, and be happy and be healthy, and we'll see you all soon. Okay,
Brilliant.
Bob.
Thank you, man.
Good
Thank
man.
you.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
All the best. Cheers.